A human being is a tropical animal. We are designed for sunshine and warmth. If your body temperature drops just 4 degrees, you start shivering uncontrollably. If it drops 10 degrees, your brain stops working. You forget who you are. If it drops 15 degrees, your heart stops. Usually this process takes about 30 minutes in extreme cold. But on a hot summer day in July, a man named Jack found himself trapped in a metal box where the temperature was minus 20 degrees Celsius. He wasn't an explorer in Antarctica. He was in the back of a delivery truck wearing nothing but a t-shirt and jeans. He was trapped for 12 agonizing hours. Doctors say he should have died within the first 2. Physics says his blood should have turned to ice. So, how is he alive today? Hello, friends. This is the story of a man who fought a war against the cold, armed with nothing but a cardboard box and the will to see his family again. It was 5 p.m. on a Friday. The weekend was about to start. Jack, a 34-year-old logistics worker, was doing his final rounds. He noticed a pallet of frozen goods had tipped over in the back of a 40-foot refrigerated truck. It was a simple task. Go in, fix the pallet, come out. 2 minutes, max. He stepped inside the trailer. The air was crisp and cold, a relief from the summer heat outside. He fixed the boxes. He turned around to leave. And then, the wind blew. A gust of wind caught the heavy steel door and slammed it shut. Bam! The sound echoed like a gunshot. Jack wasn't worried yet. He walked to the door and pushed the latch. It didn't move. Pushed harder. Stuck. The safety release mechanism inside was broken. Started banging on the door. Hey, open up! I'm in here! But outside, the warehouse was loud. Forklifts were beeping. Music was playing. No one heard him. And then, the worst sound imaginable happened. The truck's engine roared to life. The driver, thinking the load was ready, put the truck in gear and drove away. Jack felt the truck lurch forward. He screamed. He pounded on the walls until his knuckles bled. But the truck merged onto the highway. And then, the cooling unit kicked into high gear. The temperature began to plummet. Jack wasn't just trapped. He was being transported into a mobile freezer. Within an hour, the temperature inside the trailer hit minus 10 degrees Celsius. Jack was wearing a thin cotton t-shirt. Cotton is the worst material for cold because it absorbs moisture. Jack started shivering violently. This is the body's way of creating heat. But shivering burns energy fast. He realized he was in trouble. He needed a strategy. He looked around the dark trailer, illuminated only by the faint light of his phone screen. He knew he had to insulate himself. He found some cardboard boxes. He ripped them apart and created a makeshift bed to get his body off the freezing metal floor. Metal steals body heat 100 times faster than air. But then, a new enemy appeared. The sleep. Hypothermia doesn't hurt at first. It lies to you. As your brain cools down, you stop shivering. You feel calm. You feel incredibly tired. Jack sat in the corner, his eyelids heavy. He thought, I'll just close my eyes for a minute. But he knew the science. He knew that if he slept, his heart rate would slow down, his blood pressure would drop, and he would never wake up. He had to keep his heart beating. So he started doing math problems in his head. He started singing songs. He forced himself to move his frozen limbs, pacing back and forth in the tiny space like a caged animal. Then disaster struck. He pulled out his phone to try and call for help again. But batteries rely on chemical reactions, and cold stops those reactions. His phone flickered and died. Total darkness, total isolation. Meanwhile, on the outside world, the sun had set. Jack's wife Sarah was waiting for him. He was never late. She called his phone, straight to voicemail. By 9 p.m., she called the police. The warehouse manager realized the mistake. They checked the logs. Truck 402. It left at 5 p.m. Panic set in. They called the trucking company. They radioed the driver. But here was the problem. The driver was in a dead zone area with no cellular service. He couldn't hear the radio. The police managed to track the truck's GPS. It was 200 miles away, parked at a rest stop for the driver to sleep. The rescue team was racing against time. They knew the specs of that freezer. They knew a human could strictly survive only 4 to 5 hours in there without gear. It had been 10 hours. The police assumed they were recovering a body, not saving a life. Back in the truck, The driver was sleeping in his cabin, completely unaware that just a few feet behind him, a man was slowly freezing to death. Inside the box, Jack had stopped moving. He had entered the final stage of hypothermia. The shivering had stopped. His muscles were rigid. He was hallucinating. He later said he saw a warm fireplace. He felt like he was burning up a phenomenon called paradoxical undressing, where freezing victims tear off their clothes because their confused brains think they are hot. Jack raised his hand to take off his shirt, but he didn't have the strength. He slumped over onto the cardboard. His breathing was shallow. One breath every 10 seconds. His heart was beating like a dying bird. Thump, thump, and then ... a vibration. The truck shook. He heard voices outside. Not hallucinations, real voices. Open it up now. The heavy steel latch groaned. Light flooded into the trailer. It was blinding. A police officer jumped in. Jack couldn't speak. His jaw was frozen shut. He couldn't move. He looked like a statue made of blue ice. The officer touched his neck. He's alive. Get the paramedics. Now, extracting him was terrifying. They couldn't just pull him out, or his frozen skin might tear. They had to lift him gently, board and all, wrapping him in thermal blankets immediately. When Jack arrived at the hospital, his core body temperature was 26 degrees Celsius. At that temperature, most hearts go into cardiac arrest. The doctors had to warm him up, but not too fast. If cold blood from his legs rushed to his heart, it would kill him. It took 24 hours of slow, painful warming. But then, something amazing happened. Jack opened his eyes. He looked at his wife, and he spoke. His brain, which had been starved of oxygen and frozen for hours, was perfectly intact. The doctors called it a medical miracle. Jack lost 2 toes to frostbite, but he kept his life. Later, when asked how he survived, Jack didn't talk about the cardboard or the pacing. He said, "I realized that panic makes you cold. Fear kills you faster than ice. So I just decided ... to stay calm. The line between life and death is often just one calm breath." What would you have done in that darkness? Would you have panicked? No. Let me know in the comments. And please, stay safe out there. I'll see you in the next story.